Hello, there you are, and here I am. Well, we're getting into the newspapers now. We're joined by Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, who is a political scientist, director for the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. But we also have in the studio, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the fine, precious, international. Give them the titles. Give them the titles.
I am an international industry player.
International industry player.
Yeah, and a former entertainment industry player, but now I am a international current affairs industry player.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then orange-looking one.
An orange-looking one.
A deep shade of orange.
Yeah.
That's a lovely outfit.
Thank you.
You know, she's been finding wahala for me because now people, and I'm going to say this one, even the nails, is that orange nail polish?
No, that's red.
That's red?
That's red, yeah.
Okay. Looks like some blending going on. Today we decided to do different things.
Different.
I'm doing different shades of blue, and you're
which
doing...
is very nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hey.
I'm learning from you.
You're not learning from me, please. I beg you. How are you? Are you
Anyway,
okay?
I'm okay.
Yeah?
It was okay. A restful night.
A restful night?
After my headaches 2
days ago, yeah.
I had to, do a lot more resting. It was a bit hectic at the time I was going home, traffic and everything, but I got some good rest. I thank God for that.
What time did you get home?
I
know you don't want to say it because you told your girlfriend you got home at a certain time and then...
I told whom? I told whom?
Okay, so what time did you get home?
No, it was I think after 6.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
After 6.
All right.
Went through some traffic. Anyway, let's welcome aboard Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, political scientist, director for the Center for European Studies. Doc, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Ben.
Great.
And good morning, my sister.
Good morning.
She is Mapitso. We call her Maps for short.
Yeah, good morning, Maps.
Good morning, Doc.
Good morning. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Right. So before we get into the papers, on Wednesdays we usually let you talk about something that is of interest to you. And I don't know whether you're going to be talking about the motion of censure or maybe... I'd like to run this by you, even if you're going to share something with us over the next few minutes. Interestingly, I don't know whether you caught the news this morning, but the Member of Parliament for Adanse Asokwa, Katie Hammond, shared with us just about some weeks ago. It was in the news and everything. We've been playing it. He was complaining about fuel prices. He said he had gone to a fuel station, a fuel pump, and that he had basically nearly fought with the attendant because of the prices. And this he said publicly. It was captured by our team, our parliamentary correspondent and all of that. But guess what? At yesterday's committee sitting, the 8-member ad hoc committee, he said, when the minority leader referred to that issue and said that, look, you are even reeling from fuel prices, he said, no, I don't buy fuel and I don't even own a car. We added it to our news this morning. It's so curious. I don't know what you make of it.
It's just unfortunate. I think he has forgotten what he earlier said.
Forgotten?
Yes. So he will be in a better position to explain the differences between the two statements. All right. If indeed he is the one who made the earlier statement, I'm not sure that you want to run away from it. But that is an aside. But even before even pushing aside, you realize that as politicians, politicians are required to, they are seen as role models, and their actions, activities, and all that, people learn them. We pass them on from generation to generation to serve as a guide and all that. So my humble statement to him is that he needs to be very careful about some of the utterances that he makes, and that being an MP, he's a very important person that we want to trust him at all times. Because sometimes I have also a cause for worry when he made a statement that when they boo the president, and he said that that's not Ghanaian. I differ. You know that if you go through the political socialization of this country, you realize that from family to school to peers, when you do things right, they praise you. When you go wrong, boo you, they hoot at you and all that. And that, for me, I realized that he shouldn't have come there at all, because as for booing, it's part of our culture. And when you bring that culture into politics, it becomes a political culture. And the way you look at things will reflect how far you have come. We should be mindful, all of us, that history is nothing but the greatest teacher of all times. It will, it talks about the present and the future and how the two are linked permanently. Always, whatever we decide or whatever we do, history will shed light on us.
Thank you so much for those initial thoughts. Anything else you'd like to say, or should we get into the papers immediately?
I want to touch on the committee sittings.
Okay.
And I'm saying that so far, I think I'm impressed. We have seen in terms of fairness in the sense that natural law requires that whenever you accuse anybody, you give that person a hearing. So the speaker setting up this committee, giving the minister a hearing for people, for the world, for Ghana, for everybody to hear his side of the story with regards to the issues that he's being accused of. For me, that is one of the ethos of every democratic rule. Second is the issue of the fact that he's represented by his council, a council of his own choice.
Right.
And that is in line with the rule of law, right? The third one is that we are also seeing display of knowledge in terms of, evidence that they are using, papers they are tendering, and the line of questioning. For me, I think that the committee, if they go on the same route, I have no doubt in my mind that they will be able to come up with something that will stand the test of time. I like the way that members have also comported themselves. If you look at the issue before them, the very thorny issue, and sometimes it gets emotional. But the two gentlemen who are the chairpersons of the committee have also acquitted themselves very well, and that been able to bring sanity to bear on the matter. A few instances where there are attempts by people to cross the line. My good friend Ejapa Mesa, a statement that he made, and people drew his attention to, he quickly, retracted and apologized. That's a mark of what an MP, and I commend him for that. It is my hope and prayer that they will carry this thing to its logical conclusion, and at the end of the day, we will find permanent solution to this problem.
All right, thank you very much, Doc. Let's get into the papers. We'll start with the Ghanaian Times, and the big story, of course, is at Parliament censure probe. Oforiatta calls for fairness as he appeals for documents to execute the motion. And on page 16, we have SP investigates Ibrahim and others over Galamsey economy. And page 17, Ghana marks symbolic birth of 8 billionth baby at Ridge Hospital. So let's get into the details of some of the story. Well, let's start on page 3, where we are talking about Aisha Huang's case. And according to a prosecution witness, Aisha Huang speaks fluent English and Twi. Now, a superintendent of the Ghana Immigration Service has testified that Aisha Huang, who's facing trial at the Accra High Court for forging a marriage certificate to obtain an indefinite permit, speaks fluent English and Twi. According to him, he interacted with Aisha Huang in English when he personally delivered an invitation letter to her asking for her to come to the GIS office in Kumasi. Now, the invitation, he said, was concerning a news publication that had alleged involvement in illegal mining in 2016. Okay, more of that story. So he said, and I quote, "When the accused honored the invitation during the interview, she spoke in English and responded in English, and she's very fluent in English and even speaks fluent Twi." He continues to say that she didn't give us any indication that she didn't understand. She understood all the information and appended her signature. And we also have, so that's on page 3. And Benjamin, we know that Benjamin and Doc, we know that some of the court proceedings had to be stopped because they didn't have a translator. And now what has come up is that Aisha Huang actually speaks fluent Twi and fluent English. So
I found that interesting. But she's been in the country for quite a long time. That first spell and now. So for me, it's nothing surprising. I mean, P is
very easy to pick up.
it's easy to pick up.
Yeah.
I was looking for a different word, but that's the simplest way to put it. It's
Yeah.
easy to pick up if you're minded to do that.
Yeah. All right. Also, let's go to page 9. World population hits 8 billion strong. Very interesting, Benjamin, because 8 billion people.
Yeah. But the projections are that
I'll leave
over
that
time,
today,
this is going to fall. But in Africa, when you look at our dynamics, it's interesting because we have a youth bulge. We're going to have, by 2050, we're going to have a lot more of our population being young people. The question is, how are we preparing for that? What opportunities are we preparing so that the younger generation, very youthful generation, we can tap into that as a country in terms of their youthfulness, the exuberance, their strength, their creativity, and also prepare for them in terms of education, opportunities, and all of that. That is my worry.
All right. Also, on page 16, SP investigates Edu Buahing. Others are over Galamsey economy. Now, the special prosecutor, Mr. Ajabing, has commenced investigation into the actions of Mr. Charles Edu Buahing for corruption in an expose by investigative journalist Anas Aramayao Anas, dubbed Galamsey economy. Now, this followed the referral of the matter to the Office of the Special Prosecutor by President Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo through a directive for further investigations. The Office of the Special Prosecutor has promptly commenced investigations into the action of Mr. Charles and any other implicated person contained in this investigative piece. So that's the second story. And the last one from the Ghanaian Times that I will take is COPEC IES projects prices of petrol, diesel to fall, but expects price of LPG to go up. Quick one on that story. Petrol and diesel prices are projected to decline within the coming days, according to the latest checks by the Chamber of Petroleum Consumers, COPEC. According to the Chamber, petrol prices will likely fall to 16 Ghana cedis 7 pesos per litre from the current average of 17 Ghana cedis 42 pesos. Now, a statement signed and issued in Accra yesterday by Duncan Amo, who's the Executive Secretary of COPEC, said, however, that the price of LPG was expected to be adjusted upwards. We've got 3 stories there, Dr. Sasanti. Oforiatta calling for fairness as he appeals for documents to execute motion. We also have Aisha Wang speaks fluent English and Tree. Any thoughts on those stories so far?
I will start with Oforiatta calling for fairness.
Yeah.
I'm not a lawyer, but the lawyers will tell you. And then the justice system requires that all, accused persons will be given opportunity to be heard. And that is a function of fairness. And that if you look at what is happening in Parliament, I have no doubt in my mind that they are making the platform equal for all those, for Mr. Oforiatta to be able to have a fair representation.
Yeah.
And you see his lawyer is there. Not only that he's going to also, yesterday his lawyer asked for permission so that he will give him 48 hours to go and study all that have been said, so that he will on Friday and then speak to the issues the way it ought to be. This is part of the fairness. And so far, he has not been restrained as to what he can do and cannot do. And for me, that is what is important. If there is anything untoward, his lawyer knows what to do and he will raise it. But so far, we are gradually getting to the real issues where they are going to discuss them and make sure that they have a fair representation. The issue before the committee is a very important one. So the accused ought to have ample time to be able to do very good work, because failure to which can be, there are always dire consequences and all that.
Yeah.
So when you look at it all in all, I have no doubts in my mind that he will participate fully, and then the process will be fair. If it is not fair, his lawyer will raise an issue about it. I'll go on to the OSP, and there's a work on the Mr. Duboahing and all that. It's unfortunate we are where we are now, and I want to commend the president for that decision to terminate his appointment and then allow investigation to continue. Why it is important for the investigation is that this is an individual enterprise, my good friend Anna's work, and that the state want to come in and also to see whether what my good friend has put out is the real situation on the ground. That is why the matter is before an institution called OSP. The OSP will also look at the facts before him and then also come out with his decision, and this will become food for thought for all of us. My worry, though, is that if you look at all the things we are talking about every day, we see effort by governments. If you look at the Fourth Republic, efforts to deal with corruption, but we still have corruption rearing its ugly heads within our political system. And it's worrying because if you look at the money that we lose to corruption every year, a little top up to that money will be enough to save us from IMF, World Bank, support. So it tells us that we have to do more if we really want to ensure that there is effective use of resources. And that also brings me to an issue of indiscipline. We see that time and again, governments are very indisciplined in terms of prudent use of resources. If you look at waste in terms of the size of government, waste in terms of, if you read the Auditor General report and all that, all is not well. And our political actors must be very, very serious about this, because we cannot go on this route all the time. That we rule and there's difficulty, we rush to IMF, World Bank for support for bailouts. All right, there is a price to pay for not doing something to arrest the situation. And this is something that I want to draw the attention to. It's not every day that we'll go there, we'll be lucky. A day will come that if we don't take care, we go to IMF, World Bank and say, we are sorry, there's nothing there for us. That is the day that it is about time we took these issues seriously and handled them the way it ought to.
It seems like Doc has frozen. Doc, do we still have you?
Well, it appears his feed has a bit of a glitch.
I'd like to really hear his thoughts on the whole Aisha Huang thing and her speaking, fluent English and Tree, and where that will take the rest of the case. But let's talk about the stories that you have in the Daily Graphic, Benjamin.
Well, let's quickly get into them. But when Doc is back with us, I'd just like to run this by him. So as of yesterday, the average rates that we would see if you wanted to get $1 was 14 cedis, 80 pesos at Forex Bureau.
Okay.
14 cedis, 80 pesos. So 20 pesos shy of 15 cedis.
Yeah.
Yet the Bank of Ghana rate was 13 cedis, 8 pesos. It's not fluctuated much according to the Bank of Ghana's rates. 13 cedis point something, buying and selling. But when you hit the market, the reality is different. Yeah. And this is what business people have told us time and again, that look, you're pegging it like this, but the reality on the market, I don't know whether they're going to shut down all Forex Bureau, like we saw them shut down some 2 others initially. But anyway, that's just by the by. When Doc comes on, I'll have him share his thoughts on that. Let's get into the Daily Graphic now. OSP investigates Edubuahin. That story on page 16. Mapitso touched on that. Then Ghana Statistical Service and partners celebrate 8 billionth baby. I'll get into a few details of that. Then support proposal to close polls at 3 p.m. Deputy EC Chair urges political parties. I'm talking about Dr. Bosman Asari. I'll give you a snippet of that. It's 4 days to Qatar 2022. There's also censure motion. Minister counters proponents Friday as 7 grounds laid for removal. Let me start from there. The ad hoc committee tasked to investigate the various allegations to justify the removal of the Minister of Finance, Ken Ofori-Atta, from her office commenced hearing yesterday with the proponents of the censure motion outlining 7 grounds to substantiate their call to push out the minister to save the Ghanaian economy from further deterioration. The lead proponent, Haruna Idrisu, minority leader, assisted by the ranking member on the Finance Committee, Dr. Kasiala Tuforsen, supported the 7 grounds with figures from official documents such as budgets and fiscal data series from the Ministry of Finance website to firm up their motion for Parliament to impeach Mr. Ofori-Atta. They mentioned the grounds as conflict of interest, unconstitutional withdrawal from the Consolidated Fund, illegal payment of oil revenue into offshore accounts, Deliberate and dishonest misreporting of economic data to Parliament. Fiscal recklessness, leading the crash of the Ghana cedi. Incompetence and frightening ineptitude and gross mismanagement of the Ghanaian economy. Those are some interesting, allegations, some interesting grounds that have been mentioned by the minority side. But we'll see how things progress as this motion of censure and its debate goes on in Parliament. Let's quickly go to pages 16 and 17 and check out what is there very quickly. Now, where are the pages when you want them? Mapitso.
Are you winning there?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm here now. So we know about the OSP's investigation into a Dubois hen, so I'll not get into that. But the world's 8 billionth human being has been born in Accra, Ghana, and that was symbolic. 27-year-old Philomena Digbe, or is it Dogbe, delivered the bouncing baby girl at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital at exactly 12:05 a.m. yesterday. It was her fourth shot at childbirth after 3 failed pregnancies. Now, Philomena's baby girl, interestingly, came with the fortune of being celebrated as the baby who symbolically marks the 8 billionth member of the world's population. This has been done, I think, since we hit 3 billion, 4 billion, 5 billion. There's a symbolic, I mean, you can't possibly gauge that it was this person who was you know, but it's a symbolic act, and this time it was from Ghana. I'll end with this one. Support proposal to close polls at 3 p.m. You know, our elections usually go to around 5 p.m., 6 p.m., thereabouts, 5, 6 p.m. And then, unless people are in the queue, then sometimes it is extended even later. Well, the Electoral Commission has urged stakeholders, particularly the political parties, to support his proposal to close the 2024 polls at 3 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. A deputy chairman of the commission, Dr. Eric Bosmanasari, said the proposal to close the 2024 polls at 3 p.m. was to prevent electoral violence and ensure that the results were declared on time before darkness set in, at which point a lot of things could happen. Now, speaking at a multi-stakeholder session to strengthen partnership for the prevention of conflict and violence in elections in Ghana yesterday, Dr. Asari said most cases of violence that occurred in previous elections happened in the dark after 5 p.m. Hence, the proposal to change the closing time to 3 p.m., which had been captured in its new constitutional instrument yet to be laid before Parliament. What do you make of it?
I mean, if violence is going to take place, violence is going to take place. We've, covered the elections, and we've seen some brawls take place at like 3 o'clock or even at 2 o'clock. Maybe somebody was trying to bribe, or things were happening at the polling stations. So I'm not sure that the 3 p.m. I mean, it's a measure that can help, but I'm not sure that it would really, really help in making sure that violence doesn't take place at the polling station. So it's a good idea, but I'm not sure it's like the best way, because what happens to people who will be at work, have to get, you knock off at 3 o'clock, that your poll station is closed, so you don't vote. So like, what does that mean? I think it's also very inconsiderate to some people who won't be able to make it to the voting stations.
In South Africa, what's the practice?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.?
Yeah.
Have you ever voted in South Africa?
No, I haven't.
You haven't?
Yeah.
Okay, but it's 6 p.m.
It's 6 p.m., yeah.
And that has still not changed?
That's still not changed, because usually we don't really, violence doesn't take place at the polling stations, but rather like after the votes have been declared at like various places. So like public places, at the bar, or maybe at like some sort of like bars usually, public meeting place, but not ever at the polling station itself. Yeah.
I think maybe we could explore, like in other jurisdictions, early voting and electronic voting. Of course, we've not got there yet, but I'm saying that futuristically. Of course, the services and media, we often vote before the real election. Yeah. I mean, the police officers and all of that, because there will be an action on the day. So that is one aspect of it. But electronic voting, like in the United States, where people even voting by mail and all of that. But the problem is, in our system right now, we're not there yet. And that's the issue. Let me just wrap with this. Do we have Dr. Asar Asante back? All right, it appears we still don't have him back. I found this curious. You've been in Ghana for a while, so you should have a take on this. Cabinet has approved a new rent bill and recommended same for the consideration of Parliament. It is expected that soon Parliament will also commence its engagement on the bill to culminate in its successful enactment. Well, guess what? The Minister of Works and Housing, Francis Asensewach, made this known at a press briefing in Accra last Sunday, and the briefing was to update the media on recent developments in the housing sector. He said the bill sought to ensure that a landlord who demands the payment of rent, quote, in advance for more than 1 month in a monthly tenancy, or a tenancy which is shorter than 1 month, or more than 1 year in a tenancy which exceeds 1 year, commits an offense clearly identified in the bill. In the past, we've had a lot of talk about this, and you shouldn't even pay beyond 6 months and all of that. I'm sorry, it's all been
talk.
Kasa kwa. I mean,
I'm tired.
This thing is a brutal thing that landlords and landladies are using against ordinary people. And especially in these times, it's even more harsh, excruciating.
Yeah.
So all the talk about it, Mr. Asensewach, I'm sorry, let's actualize something rather than, if I were to ask you right now, I don't know whether you're paying not more than 1 year in terms of your rent advance.
I paid, what did I pay? I paid 2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, I paid
there
2
you
years.
go.
So, and that's why I'm smiling.
There you go.
Because like, I'm so over this conversation. Because reality on the ground is that this...
It's like the CD thing. The Bank of Ghana is saying one thing. On the ground...
It's not the same, you know? And another thing is that housing, like we have more people than houses. So houses are always in demand.
Yeah.
So Benjamin says...
If you don't go for it, someone else will.
Benjamin says he won't pay the 2 years. Sharp, Benjamin won't pay, but Maps will pay because I desperately need a place to stay. Yeah. So this whole rent bill, it really doesn't make sense. It's just all talk. It's all, I beg your pardon, BS, if I'm being very honest.
Well, let's see how... with this bill, let's see how things go. Because, look, from rent control to whatever, housing, we've spoken about this time without number. It still remains same. And I pity those, for example, students and others who sometimes have to come into the country. You know, we are an educational hub for the sub-region. Yeah. People come from Nigeria, Liberia, Gambia, all sorts of places, even outside of West Africa. And sometimes they have to pay through the nose for accommodation. Mind you as well, Mapitso, we have some of the highest rent prices, not just in West Africa, not just in Africa, in the world. I remember Michael Blankson, the comedian, American-Ghanaian comedian, came to Ghana and said, whoa, what's up? I mean, you're purchasing, even, look, what you used to purchase land in places like East Legon, cantonments, and some plush places, Ridge and all of that, you could use to buy property in the US, in plush areas. How does that make any sense?
So that's what I was telling a friend of mine, that a 1-bedroom apartment here, and not even like a good 1-bedroom apartment, could get me a 2-bedroom apartment in South Africa in a somewhat gated community, in a good neighborhood. So I'm paying like however much I'm paying for 1 bedroom, but if I go to South Africa, I'll get a nice 2-bedroom apartment. So it is terrible. So Mr. Asensewach, please, you are charging in dollars.
Overweight.
Like the thing, you see the rent thing, it really upsets me because I've been through the most with this, and through the most and the worst. I've really suffered, if I'm being honest. But Charlie, like.
It is what it is.
Someone will ask me, say, who said you must come to Ghana?
Who sent you?
Now who sent me?
Oh,
Charlie.
Please go ahead with the
Charlie. Okay, let's go. Republic Press quickly. Gabby Chairman said, clash over Oforiatta. We also have that story we did in the Ghanaian Times. OSP chases sacked minister over Anas tape. And Ken faces censure committee. Brian Achimpong Foundation hands over new classroom block to Kwewu Tafo SDA School. Advise your husband to resign. NDC's Barbara Asamoah to Mrs. Oforiatta. And the last one is Alhaji Bawumia is now an appearance fee VIP. That's from Nicole Owen Jones. But I want to do a quick story, very interesting one. And this is someone that I always say that we need to applaud and we need to support. Black Sherif becomes first Ghanaian artist to reach 200 million plus streams on Boom Play.
I think it deserves a round of applause. This guy is doing amazing. I think back to back, it was Sarkodie who also, Black Sheriff did it first.
Yeah.
100 million. And I think on the back of last year or so, Sarkodie also did it. But the mere fact that you have the Stoneboys, the Sarkodias, the ELs, the Edems, and all of these people, and Black Sheriff came and did it first on Boomplay. And now he's hit another first with 200 million plus. We ought to celebrate this young man. He's doing amazingly well.
And you see, what I like about him is that he's very authentic.
Yeah.
And this is a lesson to everyone that
be yourself.
Yeah, be yourself. Authenticity really, really sells. If you're yourself, then people will like you and people will see themselves through you and will want to support you. So congratulations once again to Black Sherif for becoming the first Ghanaian artist to reach 200 million plus streams on Boomplay. And I think this is like a grass to grace story that everyone can look at. And this is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
So whatever you're preparing for, don't worry, your opportunity will come. And when that opportunity comes, nobody can stop you.
You know, first sermon was okay.
Yeah.
It was out there. Then second sermon came, more attention came, and then he came through with other tracks and Kweku the Traveler and all of that. You can see some consistency in there. And that's another thing. You may try the first time, not exactly get what you want, but keep trying and you'll definitely get there. I hear Dr. Asa Asante is back. Doc, we lost you. So let me just do these stories and quickly feed in this bit. There is IMF cleared Oforiatta in 2020. That's according to a Japa Mercer story on page 6. Let me just take a quick look at that. And the new Patriotic Party Member of Parliament for 2nd D constituency in the Western region, Andre Japa Mercer, has accused the NDC majority or minority caucus of rehashing old and debunked allegations against Minister of Finance Ken Oforiatta. He noted that the allegations of misreporting data were first raised in May 2020 but was rejected by the IMF as being untrue. That's according to Japa Mercer, because there are other issues that come up as well. I also wanted to run by you earlier the fact that the Bank of Ghana keeps pegging its official rate at around 13 cedis and 8 pesewas, just around 13 cedis. But officially, when you go out to the Forex Bureau, you would actually be seeing something around 14 cedis and 80 pesewas, almost 15 cedis. How do you react to these?
Yes, I think before I come to that, you lost me at the tail end where I was saying that if you look at corruption perception index within the Transparency International, Nana and John Mahama ended with 43%. Nana also ended in 2020, 43%. And then if you look at 2021, Nana is still 43%. It tells us that all is not well, because the closer you are to zero, it means that you are not able to fight corruption better. The closer you are to 100, you are doing well with regard to corruption, the fight against it. Let's look at the issue that you have raised. It tells you that our monetary policies, we have not evaluated them and to come out to see that whether it is worth maintaining them or reforming them or throwing them away. Why am I saying that? In any public policy studies, an issue like monetary policy is a policy. So when you put a policy in place, you should be able to evaluate the policy. And once you evaluate the policy, 3 options are there for you: either to maintain the policy or cancel the policy or reform the policy. Which of these have they done? And that is, for me, you realize that there's a problem here, because if you have done proper assessment, you would have known that the figures are changing. There are people who are holding the dollars, and there are those who are calling the rates. And of course, the Bank of Ghana is the one, coming out with the figures and all that. But who are those holding the dollar and exchanging for real Ghanaian currency and all that? All these things, you realize that there's a problem with it. And I think that the Bank of Ghana must up their game. We must be fair to them. It is not as if that they are sitting down, they are not working. The first part of Nana's administration, we saw a brilliant performance. But now, it is also true that what we are seeing is not the best. It tells us that they need to up their game and then right all their wrongs. Otherwise, we'll continue to have the falling of the CD, and then different figures will be bandied around, and that will not help anybody.
Doc, we're immensely grateful that you took the time to join us this morning, and we wish you the best of the week, sir.
I'm grateful. I wish you well.
All right.
Thank you.
That is Dr. Kwame Asa-Asante, political scientist at the University of Ghana, director for the Center for European Studies. This, I felt it would be from government's end in the Ghanaian publisher. Ghana attains 100% enrollment at pre-primary level. That's according to Deputy Education Minister Reverend Tim Fojo. And private takeover of Saglemi project, a good call, Greta Executive Secretary Samuel Amegaibo says so. I have my own opinion on that, but for him, it's a good call, and he's a technical person. So, Mapitso,
Benjamin,
let's do this.
It's been fantastic. We have a fantastic, we have, you didn't expect that,
That's
did
good,
you?
that's good, that's good.
We have a very fantastic and interesting show coming up, your interview with Mr. Tamaklo.
So, Dr. Nyaho Tamaklo.
Yeah.
Interesting things he says about his assessment of this administration, planting for food and jobs, galamsey, corruption, football, practically everything.
Talking about football, 4 days to the World Cup. It's going to be exciting. We can't wait to see how Ghana is going to pepe them.
Pepe them.
Pepe them. Up next.
Charlie, but our group,
what?
Uruguay, South Korea, Portugal. Our first match is against Portugal.
Charlie.
We're praying with them.
According to Fireman Songo, he says we'll lose all.
Porto. We pray against that. We hope that. But if they carry goals and come here,
it will be
Anyway, up next we have sports. Do stay.